Welcome to the girls. We have another great show for you. We always have great shows, don't we, Ginny? We are just like so fortunate to have a lot of wonderful people, not only in our area, but because we're doing the season with Zoom this year because of COVID, we want to make sure that everybody's safe and, but we're able to bring so many wonderful people into your homes through this.
Yes, and highlight different parts of the country, not only the state, but we've been around to Hawaii and we were to Florida and we've been to New York. So we will be going different places this season, but today we're staying right here in Northeastern Pennsylvania and bringing our visitors to Jim Thorpe. So it's one place that we like to visit certain times of years. And for fall, there's a lot of things going on in the Northeastern part of Pennsylvania with hay rides and what we have apple picking and a lot of outside fairs going on, like the Bloomsburg Fair. That's another one we like to go to here.
Yeah, we eat our way through that one.
Yes, so Zoom's a good thing. Like I said on the other season, our cameras will be getting lower and lower like by here by the winter. But September is also an important month in our house because my daughter's birthday is in September. She's actually going to be 18. So we're going to 18. So maybe I'll give the adult duties to her and I'll just be a kid for a couple months. What do you think?
Well, I think that's what happens, Judy, because they can't wait to get older. Like when we were young, I couldn't wait to be 21. And now that I'm 39, I wish I was 21 again. But yeah, it's like the kids just grew so fast. We have 2 seniors and a junior.
I can't believe it. So she was asking me, it's like, what can you do when you turn 18? I'm like, well, we were thinking about it. She could buy a lottery ticket.
You could buy a lottery
ticket. You can vote.
You can vote. That's the most important thing.
So it was funny because she was thinking of things that she can do, you can pay your own bills. No, I'm kidding.
Well, she does a job. All 3 kids have jobs, so that's great.
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of my friends who are getting these elaborate senior pictures. And when we were growing up, you had to take that one picture and that was it. Now these kids, they have some amazing pictures. They go on location. They have wardrobe changes. Sometimes they're in there's like 3 different days that they go out and they get these beautiful pictures. So I can't wait to share the pictures with you guys when we actually get hers done.
We're going to show our high school pictures. And I remember the day of high school, it was raining outside. And so of course I have the big Italian hair. So I'm trying, and we didn't have flat irons back then. So I dry the hair, put it on these gigantic rollers, got it as smooth as I could. And I happened to tuck my hair behind my ear before I went in. Well, I went to see Cal Payne, God rest his soul, the greatest photographer ever. And he wanted me to have my hair down. So I took it out. And of course, there's the big dent now from out behind my ear. But my picture looked like this.
So we had
to wear the buttoned up neckline with the blouse on every side, a powder blue blouse on that I borrowed from my sister. And I was just like this. And everybody asked me why I didn't smile. I had like the little tooth, Debbie little tooth. I had one little tooth that never came in. It came in sideways. And my graduation gift was to get that tooth capped. So I didn't get my gift until after the picture. But I'm like, that sideshow when you're saying about all the great pictures they take now, when you see ours, it's just like blah.
And now they can do anything with these pictures, just like, there's Photoshop and they can change your hair color. They can change your makeup. You have a little pimple, you have braces or whatever it is, they go right over it. So
they could have added a tooth for me.
There, a tooth for mom. One little tooth. Well, at least
I just want to point something out. I have these gorgeous flowers behind me, which I hope you can see. Maybe I'll bring them forward with the orchids and all kind of beautiful colors in them. And I want to say thank you to my daughter and her family for these. We got these for our anniversary. Yep. And Sammy sent me some gorgeous flowers too. I had them on the set of one of our, I'll show them on another show. but there it was a rose in a globe, and it's like an everlasting rose because I hate when these flowers die. But anyhow, thank you so much for that. Flowers brighten the day.
There you go. All right, so let's take a break. Let's come right back. When you join us, we are going to be visiting Jim Thorpe on The Girls. Stay with us.
Welcome back to The Girls, and as promised, we have our fabulous guest with us today. Coming to us from Jim Thorpe, we have Michael Rivkin. You are the man to see when you want to go to Jim Thorpe and see everything there is to see at Jim Thorpe, because it's just loaded with so many things. And I've met you before with my husband, Sam. We've gone through the town and we've experienced a lot of these things. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here, and I really appreciate your having me. Thank you.
So Michael, for people who have never been to Jim Thorpe, or maybe they're watching from another part of the world, how would you describe Jim Thorpe?
Easy, a time warp. It's a town. It's a town that time forgot. The original turn of the century architecture, the really cool mix of old and new in terms of shops, eateries, and other offerings. I have to say, it's just really unique. I used to come here whitewater rafting, believe it or not, back in the 80s, and it had captured my heart way back then. And so to return back here and set up shop and call it home again was a real treat, only because it's such a great little town.
When you mentioned time warp, I can't help but remember when we were there doing the Asa Packer Mansion, we were allowed to do a recording for one of the episodes for my husband, Sam, and Elaine and Jack Palance. And we went to this mansion, which you said the time warp, oh my God, like time forgot. But one of the really things that I thought were the things that you learn. So when you go on these tours, I had learned that Mrs. Packer, after her husband had passed away, she of course inherited all that money. And I know you know this, but I want to tell this little story because it just impressed me till today. I remember it. She was a philanthropist as well. So she gave money to the church so that they could put an elevator in the church.
Right.
And the reason she wanted that done was so they could take the coffins up and not have to carry the coffins. When they finally finished the project, she was the first coffin they took up. I mean, how eerie was that? But back then they had like $54 million, which is $1.5 trillion in today's market. And that was from what, owning all the railroads, I guess.
Well, they owned the railroads. They actually were they owned some of the mines. They really honestly are the company that brought you the American Industrial Revolution the way we know it, because they figured out how to get the coal and the ore from the mines to the markets. And that was their process. First with flat bottom boats down the Lehigh River, and then ultimately the Lehigh Canal. And then of course, as technology improved, the Lehigh Valley Railroad.
Exactly. And all of this can be seen and heard, and you want to take your kids on a trip, or it's, anything you want to do. It's so educational, but so much fun too, because you not only have the Asa Packer Mansion. Are they running their mystery dinners and things yet with COVID? Have any of those things started up again?
So they are. Most everything in Jim Thorpe is open. Some of it, of course, is modified agendas based on COVID. But the Asa Packer Mansion presently is open Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. It's still one of the greatest attractions. What makes the Asa Packer Mansion, people say, I have time to do one thing in Jim Thorpe. What do we do? That's it. Because the Asa Packer Mansion is stone original. It was closed in 1913, reopened for tours in the mid 1950s, and left untouched, unaltered all those years. So when we talk about a time warp, the truth is honestly nothing illustrates it more than the Asa Packer Mansion.
And Michael, have you noticed, I know Jim Thorpe is a bigger attraction, but have you noticed the trend that more people from bigger cities are actually moving into Jim Thorpe? Is Jim Thorpe booming now more than ever due to COVID?
Absolutely. I had a conversation just yesterday with a local realtor friend of mine, and she is just busy as all get go. So yeah, we're definitely seeing a boom and a bit of a bubble here in the demand, and there's no question it's folks that want to get out of New York or Philadelphia or northern New Jersey. and really, why not? The quality of life, the small town living. It makes me a little bit sad because, you know, these towns were used and then kind of thrown away at the end of the Industrial Revolution. And now we're cool again.
Yeah, I love it. I love that trend. Tourism, how important is it to Jim Thorpe and the surrounding areas? Give us some kind of numbers.
I'm happy to. So tourism is essential. I don't think we can sugarcoat it, but you really hit a good point because you said the surrounding areas. One of the goals of our organization, and frankly, working with the borough and the county here, working with other organizations like the Carbon Chamber and the PMVB, our goal is to, as we call it, share that fairy dust. We want people to experience what's going on in the towns adjacent to us, whether it be go out to Number 9 Mine Museum, up to Eckley Miners Village, heck, put gas in the car in Lehighton, get a stop at the bakery in Lehighton. We want that fairy dust to be spread. And I feel we see that in terms of, as they say, a rising tide raises all boats. But tourism is key here. And I think it's really important to remember that this was the #2 tourist town in America, second to Niagara Falls, when they took the old gravity switchback railroad and turned it into scenic tourist rides, what they called in those days the first roller coaster in America. And so we had beautiful hotels dotting the mountainsides, and literally thousands of people would come a day on the trains to experience the gravity railroad, the railroad in the sky, as they called it, the beautiful hotel, and the downtown itself. So tourism's nothing new to Jim Thorpe. We're sort of teethed on it all these years.
I know when I come to Jim Thorpe, I don't know where to start. There's just so much to see, so much to do. And if you don't want to do anything, you really just sit on the train and go for a train ride and look at the beautiful foliage and things, as you said. But if people do want to come there, where you said about the Asa Packard Mansion, how about some of the shops? What kinds of shops do you have there? Or what kind of maybe restaurants, things like that for them as well?
So we have some really cool shops, and I know I kind of overuse that word, but I have to tell you, we've got some old-fashioned shops that have been here for years and years, true old-fashioned gift shops that have just any kind of manner of remembrance or souvenir that you could take home. But we also have some new contemporary shops. We've got a Christmas shop, for example, and they bring their ornaments in from Europe. So it's very high quality, super collectible, traditional Christmas items. And being a Christmas town, it makes perfect sense. There's a shop called Mabicol, and Mabicol sells shoes or bags, purses, hats. And I don't know if you've been in it. She makes everything. She's actually from Colombia. And I say that only because a good portion of what she sells, the proceeds go back to her community or stay in ours. And I think that's really important to say because, again, it's part of that share the fairy dust philosophy that we believe in. We have a gourmet shop, and it's called the Artsy Olive. And when I moved back here about 6 years ago, if you'd have told me we're going to have gourmet shops in Jim Thorpe, I'd have asked you what you were possibly thinking. And we do. And it's unbelievable the shops we have. We have Sellers Used Bookstore. Now it's been here for years and years. It's a venerable shop, but it illustrates the kind of unique offerings that the town has, especially Ray Street, which is its own little corner of the world, if you will. If you remember Ray Street, it's the beautiful stone row homes. There's a stitchery. There's the cottage gift shop where she makes pickles. I have to tell you, we're really, really proud, but also a little bit lucky to have the shops we have. And having said that, the eateries and pubs have also evolved, I think is a good word. We've seen quite a change in the past few years. That's not to say that the old standbys like Molly McGuire's aren't still here. They are. Molly's is, sort of the corner pub that we all gravitate towards. Moya is, shall we say, the fine dining restaurant. That's been here for years and years. And I don't know how they do it. They just get better and better. You've got Marion Ho's Bar, which is a converted fire station. So now it's another cool pub offering. And we have Wild Elderberry, which is brand new, and they have elderberry wine and smoothies and charcuterie and European sandwiches. And so there's just, while we're keeping the traditional, we also have an elevation or an evolving trend in our food and beverage. There's something for everybody, as they used to say.
And Michael, I know everyone who's been to Jim Thorpe probably has their traditions of where they go, what they do. I know when we used to take our kids, they had things that they like to do, or if I go by myself, they're always like, make sure you stop and pick us up this or that, or is the beef jerky still there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, my son loves that.
Alligator beef jerky. Where are you going to get it, Jim Thorpe?
Right.
Who knew?
So we're going to talk more about traditions and what there is to do for everyone in Jim Thorpe. You're watching The Girls, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Girls. You're visiting with us today. We are taking you on a little inside tour with Michael Rivkin. He is from the Jim Thorpe Tourism Agency. I got it right this time. Yay.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right, so I guess I went a trolley ride. One of the main things that we have new in Jim Thorpe, entertainment-wise, and things to do. Why don't you elaborate on that trolley ride?
Boy, the trolley is brand new. They're doing an awesome job. So it's a hop on, hop off service where you can get a trolley tour of Jim Thorpe's landmarks. You can park at Penn's Peak, get a ride into town, buy your tour ticket right at the train station, of course, which makes sense. And it goes all the way out to Mock Chunk Lake Park and all the way back. You can stop at the old jail. You can stop at the Opera House. You can get on and get off. It's a fantastic addition. Sort of an added bonus is it kind of alleviates a little bit of the parking tightness that we experience here. So, you know, it's all good. I mentioned the Opera House. I'd like to talk about that if I can, only because sadly the Opera House, of course, was closed last year due to COVID restrictions. Well, let me tell you what, the Opera House, as they say, it ain't dead. The Opera House is alive and kicking. They're back to 2, 3, 4 shows a weekend. I have to tell you, it's truly one of the landmarks. It's one of the reasons people come here. And it just speaks of the fact that we are an entertainment town. There's a new venue called Cafe Ariel, which is in the old Wireworks. You may know it as the Staben Museum, and years ago it was known as Flow, but it's back now. They're doing Jazz Thursdays. Unbelievable. Jazz Thursdays in Jim Thorpe. It's just speaks volumes about sort of the direction of the town. You probably know about the Jim Thorpe Independent Film Festival that's held every spring. And that's another incredibly great attraction that we can call our own here in Jim Thorpe. They screened 600 movies this year and selected 90. We do Fall Festival, and Fall Festival is important because there's a heavy music influx into our Fall Festival. We will have 5 music stages with 3 concerts all day over 4 weekends in October. It's incredible, and it's all free. You just have
Michael,
to come
do
here
you
and
have a
enjoy it.
website that people can find the information on?
Absolutely. Please go to jimthorpe.org.
Oh, easy enough.
And that's it, easy enough. And there'll be a tab there for events. It's going to talk about Fall Festival. It's going to talk about parking options, entertainment, music, and some of the other attractions we have here in town.
Will it also tell us if we need reservations for some of these great places to eat, or maybe to go to the Asa Packer Mansion or any of the other tours? Do you need to reserve spots for those tours?
So the truth of the matter is most of our attractions don't require reservations. The Asa Packer Mansion doesn't, you don't need them for that. The only reservations I can think of, really, even the jail doesn't do reservations. You go at your leisure, you join a small group, they give you the tour of the old jail, and it's just still very small town. But the only thing that you're going to need reservations for is going to be for some of the restaurants.
What is one of the oldest things that's there in Mock Chunk? You mentioned about the Asa Packer Mansion, but we mentioned a flashback to the old and to the new. So
absolutely. So some of the old icons that people have been coming here for years, like I mentioned, the old jail. The old jail is that traditional 1880s kind of dungeony jail. In your mind's eye, when you think old jail, this is it. And the old jail is very storied. You might know about the handprint from the ghost, and you are in a ghost town, so there's that too. You can take a ghost tour, as a matter of fact, on weekends that leaves the Inn at Jim Thorpe. It speaks about the history of the town. And sadly, lots of the people are still here. And that's the ghost tour. But the jail, of course, I'm sorry, I digress. So the old jail is fantastic with the dungeon and all, and they do an outstanding job. It's open every day for tours with the exception of Wednesday. Another cool thing that's happening here is we should talk a bit about Flagstaff Ballroom. So the Flagstaff Ballroom, you may remember, was a landmark in Jim Thorpe, honestly, for 100 years. The ballroom opened in the early 1900s, having been part of the New York Fair World Exhibition, was moved here by the Trolley Company. It was the stage for the Dorsey Brothers, for example. Frank Sinatra sang there with them. All manner of weddings and events. Essentially, if you had anything in Jim Thorpe, it was at the Flagstaff.
And guess who else appeared there? My husband Sam was there with his Lancers, the band. When we visited, he was very happy to see the Flagstaff was still there. He used to play the
Absolutely. Yeah. So Flagstaff not only is still there, but it's under renovation right now. So it was sold earlier in the year and it's being renovated and brought back to life as an event center. That's part of preserving our history here. That to me is part of the attraction of why people come here.
Also with your tourism, we have to talk about the great outdoors, because I've been there definitely through COVID, walking near the railroads, walking in the paths. You have a lot of biking trails and a lot of people who like to whitewater raft, is it?
Absolutely, positively. So, well, that's how I got my first exposure to Jim Thorpe. I was living in Stroudsburg back in the mid 80s, and we brought our hotel team here for, sort of a day off together, and we went whitewater rafting. Whitewater rafting is one of the top attractions that we have here, as well as the biking and the hiking. But, you mentioned COVID, and if you remember, what were the authorities telling us to do last year? Whatever you want to do it outside. And so Jim Thorpe was the right place at the right time. So the whitewater rafting is super cool. If you can catch it when they do a full moon rafting trip, there is nothing like it. It is absolutely magical. The biking, the bike shuttles, the hiking. And I will tell you too, that more and more of our trails are available on the All Trails app. And so we'll see a lot of trails that, frankly, I'm just learning about because now they're on the All Trails app.
It's so funny that you're saying that, because that's how I ended up there.
No kidding.
My boyfriend and I, we went on the app because we were like, we need to do something. And, that was after the COVID 15 pounds were coming up, because we kept being home and home and home. And right. I found the app and we started doing these walks, and I was like, we need to go to Jim Thorpe. So it was hustle and bustle, and we walked right by the railroad tracks. It had like a path, and you can do 8 miles, 10 miles, 3 miles, whatever you wanted. But that's exactly how we ended up in Jim Thorpe walking, from the app.
Well, and part of that you may not know is that the walking bridge that connects the southern and northern pieces, if you will, of the DNL, Delaware and Lehigh Trail System, that bridge was completed a little under 2 years ago. So now you can ride all the way into Jim Thorpe, and they've actually further improved parts of the trail as they go through Jim Thorpe.
I love it. I love how safe Jim Thorpe is. It's clean, it's affordable. It is in our backyard, but also a place where people can say, hey, where can I go for the weekend and just have an affordable, fun, safe experience where I don't need my car. I can walk the entire vicinity, and Jim Thorpe is definitely the place for you then.
Well, that's what we say. The truth is we're 2 hours from New York, 90 minutes from Philadelphia, 40 minutes from the Lehigh Valley, if that, depending which road you take. And, there used to be a phrase, maybe you remember it. They say, go away without going away. Well, that's kind of what Jim Thorpe is.
And you mentioned before about biking and whitewater rafting. They rent all of this there, so you don't have to drag anything with you. Even if you want to go there and bike ride, you don't have to have a bike, Janine. So you don't have to walk. Next time, honey, you could bicycle through the town.
Oh, how
all
about
those hills?
Fancy.
All those hills.
Get me on a bike now. Not my favorite thing to do, I have to say. Walking or using a vehicle, more of my favorite things to do.
Well, remember, Jim Thorpe is well known for many, many great things. Parking is tight here, and so people want to plan that parking.
Yes, yes. So again, you have that website. If anyone wants to go on, they can find a lot. They can do their research ahead of time. I like to look online and see when events are and kind of plan out, map out. Sometimes if you map it out, you get to do more when you're there. So you can do that, or you can just pop on by and just wing it.
And
Yeah,
just-
and one thing I want to mention too is you have a lot of things going on outside, so people don't have to go inside to something or plan it. They just pop up here and there, right?
That's exactly right. So the outdoor events are, of course, numerous, but even our shops have been really great about social distancing and limiting the number of people in at any given time. I have to tell you, they really kind of adjusted and reinvented themselves in the face of COVID, and good on them. You know, we're still standing.
Very nice. Well, Mike, thanks for joining us here on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And again, your viewers can go to jimthorpe.org for all manner of information on what to do here.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you again. I'm sure we're going to be stopping down to see you. Maybe I'll make a reservation to put Sam in the jail for good. Overnight.
On the girls.
And overnight.
So you may know, since we saw you last, Jeffrey and I moved. We had the Parsonage B&B up the street, but we're now down. We bought the old Dolan Mansion, so we're across from the Opera House, and this is one of those 3 unrestored, unmolested, shall we say, unbutchered millionaire mansions.
Wow.
So if you're in town, stop at 5 West, and we'll give you a little peek at the house here.
Super. I can't
beautiful.
wait.